people close to LeBron James talking to me about questioning him as a father. Come on, y'all. That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son.
I think this is the second time in my career that I caused some sort of chaos in mainstream media. The first time being when I went viral during the 2023 NBA draft for this.
Miller, his name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
Yeah, Malika, part of it.
I don't think it would be brought up at all if it wasn't for Malika just bringing it up on national television right now. And now I think I did the same thing to Stephen A. Smith, so we're going to break down the entire story, including what happened to me personally during that game. Before we get to the content, we just launched a brand new baseball channel called Uni Diamond Talk. We're giving away 10 copies of MLB The Show 25 to a subscriber that turns on their notifications on that channel. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Today's video is sponsored by PrizePicks. We've been having a dominant run making easy money on our NBA props that I give away on my Instagram at TheFlightMike and on my Patreon at Microphone. Make sure you use my promo code Microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more, or just click in the link in the description down below. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I have to open up this video on Stephen A. Smith by saying that I have a lot of respect for the entertainment value that Stephen A. has brought to ESPN and the amount that ESPN just works him in general. And it's my firm belief that whenever one company decides to work an individual to this extent, they're gonna slip up a lot. You start to become more detached from your takes. Some of your takes might be incorrect, especially because you don't really watch Stephen A. Smith to get in-depth analysis about the NBA and the NFL. Rather, he's there to tell you what's going on in the NBA and NFL while making you laugh, and sometimes if there isn't really anything to talk about, he's prone to reaching. Regardless, I think he's a legend in the industry, and I have a lot of respect for him, and I definitely wouldn't be doing what I do currently if it wasn't for Stephen A. And clearly ESPN feels the same exact way about Stephen A. Smith, because this man has had one crazy month. I mean, originally Stephen A. Smith was flirting with the idea of being the Democratic nominee for president of the United States in 2028. No, I'm actually serious. This is something that was being discussed. Back in November, Stephen A. said this:
I had a legitimate shot to win the presidency of the United States of America. I would definitely consider it.
And more recently, he even came out and said that he felt like he could beat each and every Democratic nominee.
I mean it when I say it. I think I can beat them all.
Now, regardless, ESPN views Stephen A. Smith as a gigantic asset because they recently signed him to a 5-year, $100 million contract, which is more money than D'Angelo Russell, Klay Thompson, Lou Dort, Austin Reeves, Malik Monk, Kobe White, and even future Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul. It's truly a game-changing amount of money to give a sports commentator, but given the amount that ESPN works Stephen A., it doesn't really surprise me. Stephen A. Smith even addressed his new contract on First Take.
You know, I got a lot of things that I want to achieve, a lot of things that I want to accomplish in my life that extend beyond this show and beyond the world of sports, but it all starts here, and I'm really happy. I'm happy it's over. It took too damn long. I can tell you that much. It took too damn long.
So how did Stephen A. Smith decide to celebrate? Well, he decided to go and watch the Lakers take on the New York Knicks, where I had the honor of sitting back a few rows behind him. Hopefully one day I could afford to sit courtside, but until then I'm just gonna settle for section 101, row 7, seat 1, which was probably the best seats I've ever gotten. So a huge shout out to you guys and a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for putting me in a situation where I could get such seats. From a personal perspective, it was a really cool game. I had the opportunity to meet Tony Khan, and the game went into overtime, but in the middle of the game, Stephen A. Smith walked courtside and sat down. I said to my buddy that was Stephen A. Smith, explained who he was, explained how he just signed a 5-year, $100 million contract, and as I was explaining this, LeBron James got into Stephen A. Smith's face, and they started to have some words together. Me noticing that this looked very tense, I took out my phone and recorded it immediately. I posted it onto X. I don't necessarily have the biggest following on X, and I think as a result of this, someone stole it and took credit for it, but I want to give a huge shout out to the individuals that cited me originally. Legion Hoops originally made a mistake and said said someone else did it. But Legion Hoops, Lakers All Day Every Day, Bleacher Report, ESPN, and SportsCenter eventually corrected their mistake. So I want to give a huge shout outs to all of them for doing that. But I took the video, I tweeted it out, and I said, I wonder what LeBron James was saying to Stephen A. Smith here. And this is where I think our NBA community is just so freaking cool, because it didn't take very long for fans to speculate that this had to do with LeBron James's son, Bronny. Now, this is where things get really cool, because at first, fans were speculating that LeBron James was mad that Stephen A. Smith was talking trash about him, which is something that Stephen A. Smith does quite often.
Should LeBron get some credit for JJ Redick? And now we're praising him as potentially he's the coach of the year, and we were like raking LeBron through the coals for that.
Are you ready for this? I'd still rake him.
I mean, Stephen A. Smith and Kai Cenat literally got into it on First Take over LeBron James.
When it comes to LeBron James, you start hating. That's how I feel. But listen, every time when there's a debate going on with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, you always got something to say about LBJ. And I'm here to say, bro, LeBron's better than Jordan. I said it.
Don't you even think about coming on this show with that guy. Don't you do it.
Michael Jordan ain't never had 50,000 points.
But the thing is, Skip Bayless has made an entire career hating on LeBron James. I mean, so many analysts just use LeBron James and hating on LeBron James as easy content that LeBron doesn't really respond to any of it. I mean, LeBron has never once publicly acknowledged Skip Bayless. So it certainly didn't have anything to do with that, because I don't think LeBron is that soft. When you have this many people in the media talking trash about you, it doesn't affect you at a specific point. But a member of our community eventually said that it looks like LeBron James is telling him, keep my son out of this shit. Now, this may seem a little random, and then you take a look at some of the stuff that Stephen A. Smith has said about Bronny recently.
I'm not being cruel to Bronny. I'm looking out. Do you want it this way? He can't go into the G League and average 20, 25 and stay there until he's ready?
Now, this wasn't the only instance of Stephen A. Smith hating on Bronny. Here's another instance of it.
We love what we're seeing from him in the G League because that's where you belong.
And another instance of it.
And pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad.
Now, here's the thing. I know what you might be saying.
But Mike, you made plenty of negative content on Bronny James. You're being a hypocrite.
And that is true. Yes, I thought the way the Lakers were managing Bronny's career was a little atypical. I definitely felt like he wasn't placed in the greatest situation to succeed. And I never really hated on the kid himself. Rather, I expressed empathy for him. I felt like being a player that was only shooting 27% from three and 36% from the field in college, clearly not developing at all whatsoever, and then being thrown to the wolves in the NBA as a result of nepotism, then being told that you're going to spend some time in the G League and some time riding the bench in the NBA just was a recipe for disaster. That, and I was kind of annoyed that that was our greatest move in the offseason. I mean, it was Dalton Connect, Bronny James, and JJ Redick, which in hindsight kind of looks like a great offseason. But even then, I wasn't ever outright disrespectful to Bronny. But according to Nick Wright, the straw that broke the camel's back here was the fact that Stephen A. Smith was playing Bronny lowlights in the background while he was talking about the face of the league comment.
When Stephen A. brought that up on his podcast, you know what video played alongside it? Like the soundless, what we call B-roll highlights? It was Bronny's bad minutes against the Sixers. That's true. So like, again, I don't think that's Stephen A.'s call. It doesn't exactly dispel the narrative that, well, yeah, there might be a little unfairness here.
Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, LeBron James recently went viral for saying that he never asked to be the face of the league.
Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that, you know, that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis on everybody? I mean, have that responsibility. It's just weird. It's weird energy.
And my original response to this was, I love LeBron James. I respect what he's done. But dude, you literally got the tattooed chosen one on your back a few years into your career. Like, there's nothing wrong with being the face of the league, but he clearly positioned himself to be the face of the NBA. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the bigger message that LeBron James was trying to send home here was the fact that the media has lost its way. It went from being a medium where you could provide thought-provoking analysis and educate elevate the common man about the game to just saying terrible stuff about the players. And while there is an argument to be made that the players currently deserve to be slandered to a specific extent, primarily because they're getting paid more than ever, they seem more entitled than ever, they're consistently flopping in the middle of game, they're consistently load managing despite getting paid more than ever, they're demanding trades 1 year into their brand new max contracts. I think that's what LeBron James meant about the face of the NBA comment, which, by the way, this was a response to Anthony Edwards said during the All-Star break that he doesn't want to be the face of the NBA.
Capable of being that guy. I don't want to be that guy, put it like that. I want to be the guy to just show up and hoop and just kill dudes and go home.
And LeBron James even clarified his point about a week ago, saying this isn't about the face of the game, it isn't about one person or one show, it's about the culture of basketball, the most beautiful game in the world. Our game has never been better. Incredible young stars from all over the world, and some older ones. Steph Curry should be all we're talking about today. Let's discuss how great OKC and the Cavs have been this season with two completely different styles and break down why and how they have. Of course, if players don't perform, we need to discuss that too and break that down. Even that can be discussed in a way that's not to bring finality to that player's game, but to leave room to see how that player responds, and let's watch the journey of that player. This ain't about me either. At this point, I don't really care what's said about me, it's always something. This is just about the impact the negativity is having on our beautiful game and our fans. I know I speak for a lot of players and, more importantly, a hell of a lot of great fans that truly love and celebrate the sport around the world. So as Stephen A. Smith was discussing this, he showed Bronny lowlights, which has nothing to do with LeBron, which makes a lot of sense because the only time LeBron James really addresses the media is whenever the media brings his family into things. I mean, a good example of this was when Brian Windhorst initially criticized the Los Angeles Lakers' plan for Bronny, only to switch up a week later.
He's only going to play in the South Bay Lakers home games, that he's only going to kind of be a part-time G League player. I don't like that. I don't know whose idea it was. Obviously, the Lakers are fine with it. They're doing it. I've now, on this particular instance, I think that's gone too far.
1 week later.
What I said, and I'll say again, was that I am totally on board with the whole Bronny James thing with the Lakers. I think it was a smart move to draft him.
And while I understand where LeBron James is coming from, I really think it's noble that he's trying to protect his son and defend his family. You have to bear in mind that the reason why these crazy expectations were placed on Bronny to begin with wasn't just because he was LeBron James's son. I mean, we've seen sons of NBA players attempting to make a career in the NBA before. None of them have been nearly as scrutinized as Bronny. Even Michael Jordan's sons tried to play professional basketball, but they weren't really covered that much. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is in the NBA. You don't really see people comparing him to his father. Domantas Sabonis' father was an NBA legend, and there wasn't that much expectations placed on Domantas either. So why is this the case with Bronny? Well, whenever you have your father tweeting out stuff like this, man, Bronny's better than some of the cats I've been watching on League Pass today. It is lightweight hilarious. You don't get to come out and say this 1 year later.
I'm just kind of in this mode right now because I'm getting the same, thing from watching my son, who's a 19-year-old, kind of getting a lot of animosity and hatred towards him when he's just a kid trying to live out his dream. There's a very small number of men and women that actually get to live out their dream of playing a professional sport. And we have grown men and women out here doing whatever they can to try to make sure that does not happen. That is the weirdest thing in the world, but it is what it is.
So while I do understand it is kind of low-hanging fruit to go after Bronny, at the same exact time, there's a reason why these expectations were placed on Bronny to begin with. Now, Stephen A., being the master of controversy that he is, quote tweeted my video and said, "I didn't want to have to address this. I wouldn't have either had it not gone viral. Now I have no choice. First take first at 10 a.m. Eastern, then the Stephen A. Smith Show on YouTube. Some things just have to be said." It's just really funny how they try to leverage controversy here. I mean, Kevin Love called him out for this, saying you have no choice, LOL, because it went viral, LOL. You didn't want to have to, LOL. You wouldn't have, LOL, which is true. The only reason he's doing this is because it's viral and he could piggyback off of the views. And this is what Stephen A. Smith had to say on First Take.
To confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. I had no intentions, Molly, of talking about this at all.
Yeah.
That this thing had gone viral. And so ultimately it was unavoidable. It wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. All accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son. Based on some of the comments that he had heard
or shall I say, I think he thought he heard, and he confronted me about it.
The craziest part about this clip is after LeBron James finished confronting Stephen A. Smith, he looked at me as if he knew I was recording the whole thing and that this was gonna go viral. He literally threw me an assist on social media. It was just crazy to me. At the end of the day, I see where LeBron James is coming from, honestly, especially because I think picking on Bronny at this point is such low-hanging fruit and is such an old story. I mean, it's not like there's really anything to talk about. Bronny just sits at the end of the Los Angeles Lakers bench. He's the reason why I still watch the Lakers during garbage time. It's honestly so fun. They throw him in there with like 3 minutes left if they're up by 30. You're rooting for Bronny to hit like a crazy step back three. It adds a lot of entertainment value to the Los Angeles Lakers, and he gets to chill with his dad and Luka Doncic all day. I mean, I really don't see the problem with this anymore. There's not as much spotlight on him. It's pretty cool if you ask me, and just bringing him up at this point is just kind of unnecessary. But I think Stephen A. Smith's game was a little bit more sinister here. I mean, when you're just showing clips of LeBron James's son bricking shots while discussing LeBron James, you're clearly baiting him into giving you a reaction. And Stephen A. Smith has been the master of getting people to talk about him. He's learned that from Skip Bayless. He's very good at leveraging controversy to keep his name relevant, whether it's him trying to run for president or baiting the face of the NBA to confront him. I personally really enjoy this because it was so cool to be down there recording something and make a video on it. I've only done this like one other time. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this? Apart from that, I don't know if you guys know, Zion Williamson just did the unthinkable. We made a completely separate video on that, and I'll leave it in the end screen. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.